The Pats Interference Podcast is powered by FanDuel. Sign up now at FanDuel.com/Boston and claim your $200 bonus.
Good news. I've gotten it all out of my system. All UConn references, reminders. Once again, basketball capital of the world is Storrs, Connecticut. Little Storrs, Cowtown, Connecticut. 5th national title. I got them out of my system today as we record Tuesday night. Called the Red Cross, changed my blood type to blue, spray painted Tristan ahead of all the Newton exit signs off of the pike. So this will be that for UConn. Bad news, the drama around the Patriots continues. Some would say dysfunction. It all depends on how you interpret the report or believe or how much stock you put into for Mike Florio that came out late Tuesday morning, hours before I started recording this intro. This is Bill Belichick, quote unquote, shopped Mac Jones to multiple teams. And from this one source, Mike Florio says the Raiders, Commanders, Texans, and Buccaneers were potential landing spots. Now, before we get to a 3-round dueling Patriots mock draft with Fitzy from WEEI, Patriots super fan, everything, I wanted to make some calls and see what was real, what was not, whatever I could glean going on before I shared my thoughts on this report, because this is really the topic of the day. We could do draft content anytime. It was a ton of fun with Fitzy. He's always a good time. We went for longer than an hour. The original plan was 30. So there's a lot of draft talk in there. We do talk about Mac. You do get your perspective, his perspective, I should say, on the matter. Mine is coming here now after making these phone calls, which was initially slow, but got off the phone with 4 to 5 people, some inside the team, some around the league, about what this means. I will start here. No one believes that Mac Jones will be anything other than the Patriots starting quarterback come week 1 of next season. So there's that. Number 2 is this seems to be a bit of old news that has leaked a couple months later. Now, that doesn't mean it's not important, because it's interesting to me how or why or who leaked this bit of news. But it seems very plausible, though I cannot corroborate exactly how Belichick spoke, how many teams he talked to. Was it an inquiry? Because again, as we said in this podcast, trade talks happen all the time. If you want to cast the widest net of players were discussed from team to team, possibly going somewhere else. But the thing is, people don't believe this is going to happen, because also if you look at the list of teams, number 1, I was told from someone, the Bucs wholeheartedly believe in Kyle Trask and think that Baker Mayfield actually might back him up. Number 2, the Raiders have already the older, more handsome version of basically quarterback Mac Jones, okay, and Jimmy Garoppolo. Yes, it's a fairly cheap deal for a veteran of his caliber. Yes, you could have them both on the same team at the same time, but why? The value in Mac Jones right now is he's on a cost-controlled rookie contract for multiple more years. If you're the Raiders, just take someone to be the middle of a sandwich where Brian Hoyer is one side of the bread and Jimmy G obviously on the other side. Mac Jones doesn't fit into their timeline or into their picture. Houston has a number 2 overall pick. They could take a quarterback at the top. They could maybe trade that to Baltimore and Lamar Jackson deal if they hypothetically wanted to. And the Commanders, who the hell knows, they have bigger problems than Mac Jones rumors. So it makes a lot more sense that this was possibly Bill Belichick exploring every single avenue for improvement in the middle or late January, because that's what the Patriots do every single year. And that's what they needed to do coming off of an 8-9 season. But there's no inkling, even from people who I talked to, say they heard whispers about this at the Combine, that this is going to happen. That being said, something certainly did happen, because I believe the report, I think it's intentionally vague. But again, there's a wide range of, we want to give you Mac Jones, and if you just give us a 3rd-round pick, we'll ship him out of here. That kind of desperation and urgency versus, hey, you got any interest in number 10? Would you be willing to give up a first or some sort of asking price you're not going to know that you're going to get? Because, of course, in January, Aaron Rodgers' domino hadn't fall, even though now this is kind of suspended in midair. Lamar Jackson, who knew? Jimmy Garoppolo is going to come available. So the Patriots go, okay, if we see these guys as upgrades, maybe we get some assets for Mac, who obviously isn't going to stay if we get a new quarterback. Those dominoes have fallen. Teams have moved on. They're looking ahead to the draft. The teams that need quarterback are generally at the top. Why would they take Mac Jones? So as far as who leaked this, I don't like to do the source guessing game. I don't think it's good for the industry. It doesn't mean it's going to stop anyone on TV or radio or on a podcast. I would just say, when you look at the report and it says Bill Belichick shopped Mac Jones, not the Patriots shopped Mac Jones, that to me would indicate that Bill Belichick or someone in and around him is not the one who leaked this to Florida. Not to mention, Bill has a documented relationship with Adam Schefter. Ian Rappaport, the NFL Network, second leading or co-leading insider in the whole league. Former Patriots beat reporter, the Boston Herald, okay, does excellent work. Typically, that's where information from Patriots headquarters goes. We have other good reporters around the beat. Robert Kraft just endorsed Mac as a starting quarterback. You have a report from Tommy Curran earlier this offseason that Mac would be moved, quote, over Kraft's dead body. So it doesn't seem to be coming from them, which leaves basically, aside from a random source or someone who thinks they know what they're talking about, the Florio Trust, Mac Jones. Now, why would Mac or someone close to Mac or his camp or his agents be the source of the story? The only reason would be possibly as payback for Bill Belichick. His network, his agents work for CAA, one of the largest, most powerful agencies in all of sports, forget just football. Okay. Or he's unhappy. Does he want to get traded? I don't know. But no one I talked to today, as I said at the start, A, thinks this is going to happen. Okay. Or B, sees this as some sort of big deal. Okay. It didn't make sense to some people in the building when this came out today. Okay. It's not being actively shopped. There were certainly some calls. I don't doubt it. But you know what? Bill would be selling low. Bill would be giving up on a value contract. And a player who, as a rookie, proved he's somewhere between the 12th and 16th, maybe 18th best quarterback in the league. And when you look around at the top 16 quarterbacks, none of them are moving. So unless he is going to break some of his foundational roster building rules of paying a quarterback more than 13% of the cap, which we talked about last week, Lamar Jackson, forget about it. Or he's going to make a massive trade up in the first round, something he's done, I think, twice, okay, since 2004, the last 20 years, in the draft, which is not going to do when you basically have two teams at the top are going to take quarterbacks and then, others lingering at 4 and 7 and so on. He's stuck with the guy he's got. And you know what? That's not so bad because they're making a big bet on Bill O'Brien coming in and helping to fix Max Jones. And as someone who's been in his college system, knew him a little bit, as we all freaking reported to death around the time that Bill O'Brien came aboard. They overlapped briefly at Alabama. This is the guy to do it. So keep him in-house. And I can tell you, Mac Jones was in the building today when this broke. So for a guy who maybe was the source on this or someone close to him or whatever the deal is, okay, he's still going to work. He's still trying to get that job. He's still trying to improve. And all indications are Mac is getting along well with Bill O'Brien and things are going okay at One Patriot Place. It doesn't mean things are going okay outside the building as we sit here and talk and get into the non-football stuff. And you'll hear me say this to Fitzy later on. Just we want to stick with ball. Okay. This is the politics, the nonsense, the drama that none of us really want to deal with. You got to cover it because Florio's got some credibility and something certainly happened here. How serious was it? How long did it last? How many teams did they talk to? Was there any interest? We don't know any of that. So to me, when I talk to people who are in the know and they say, this isn't going to happen, this is about the end of me spending time on this. So this episode of the Pat's Interference Podcast is still brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. Go to FanDuel.com/Boston. As I said before, if you're enjoying the podcast, and you like to have a little fun, make a little bit of money, no guarantees, go to FanDuel.com/Boston and help us here in the podcast. The link is in the episode page, Spotify or Apple. It should be there, accessible. Click it. Takes 2 minutes. That's it. And have a little bit more fun watching the Sox or the Celtics as they come up. So without further ado, here comes Fitzy, the one and only. Great to chat with this guy. And again, if you want to skip ahead, first 15, 20 minutes, I'm not suggesting it, but I would understand and just get straight to the fun in the draft up. So here we go. So as we welcome in Fitzy, WEEI contributor, your friend and mine, friend and face of the fan base, and just all around good guy, craft beer cultivator in New England. I am reminded of our text last night where before the UConn game, you and I are getting excited about our draft. We're going to do 3 rounds. We're going to name some dudes. We're going to talk about their height and their weight and their skills and their fit in New England. Good, wholesome, early April NFL content. And in my email to you that prompted those texts, giving you the rundown, here's what I want to do in what order. The first bullet was, let's just take the temperature of the fan base. No one better to do that than you. I said, we'll take most 5 minutes. Where are you on Bill? How about Mac? Robert Kraft? Throw him in there, just the team as a whole. And I said, this will just be a nice way to ease into things. Well, there is no more easing. Given the report that came out today, I have already shared my thoughts. You are shaking your head for the folks on YouTube. We talked a little bit before this started, but I said, stop, share the thoughts you've shared with me. So temperature take, we're still going to do it. It's going to be 5 minutes, but it's a lot hotter than I expected. Again, given the last, where we are in the calendar.
It went from, in no time at all, Andrew, me planning on starting off by just doing a little general grab ass, like, with all apologies to the Harbaugh brothers, your bachelor party, UConn winning, the draft approaching. Who's got it better than this guy? We all live in the land of Callahan, and we're just happy to be a couple of squirrels getting nuts or some dads grabbing a craft beer. And instead now, with just one Florio bomb right around noontime on a Tuesday, we go from taking the temperature, it being warm enough outside that you think, you know what, I can probably wear a t-shirt and jeans today, to flat out wondering if anyone's going to judge you if you go for a jog without a shirt on. It is blazing hot outside. Yeah. Once again, never a dull moment in Foxborough, but I hate to say it, more often than not lately for the wrong reasons. I just finished writing up a piece that I'm sure is going to turn a few heads and get me a lot of, angry quote tweets for WEEI.com about how turmoil is replacing triumph as the new normal in Foxborough. Like, it's more dysfunction than dynasty. And I understand it becomes difficult to, if you're the New England Patriots, remain at the top for as long as they did. And there's a heavy price to pay for ruling over the entire football fiefdom for 2 decades. And we as fans also get used to the drug that is their greatness, their excellence, planning our lives around playoffs, AFC championships, Super Bowls, and duck boat parades. But to watch your team be the gold standard and be in the headlines for as long as they were for all the right reasons, and now suddenly give in to dysfunction and drama and all of the things that we used to mock other teams for, it's very strange. You have to really wonder, like, wait, these are the same Patriots we're talking about, right? And then you ask yourself, has this always been there? And the Welkers and the Mosses and the McGinnis and the Brewskis and the Vrabels and, of course, the Bradys and the Gronks and the Edelmans, did they just sort of like it working in tandem with Bill? Did they cover up all of this and now it has just exploded from Pandora's box?
Yeah, of course, it's not only that those players are gone, so is the winning, the proverbial ultimate deodorant for all these things. Mm-hmm. I think Bill, of course, has evolved once the winning goes out the door. How much patience is there for some of this? It also could just come down to the quarterback coach relationship, which we saw unravel a bit with Brady, obviously, and Bill, just happening much earlier in Mac. And I think that's, of course, the center for all of this. Now, it's complicated by the Patricia decisions and the judge decisions, which I don't want to go over. I even checked on my piece that I co-authored with Karen Garrigan, which was the highlight of all the dysfunction, what happened. That was more than 2 months ago, man. And it does not feel like that now. It surprised even me, author of the piece, that was going on. The thing I will say this, though, about the fan base, which, again, is just judged off my mentions, what I see from you, other places on Twitter, is I'm glad at least it seems we've moved, or not even we, the fan base has moved past denial and on to anger. Okay. Like the grief over the end of the dynasty, where things are now, where they're going. There are a couple Florio deniers out there, and who knows? Maybe that's right. I've already shared my thoughts on this again. But ultimately, people are dealing with the reality of the situation. Acceptance is still a couple steps away here, but it's not everything is fine in Bill we trust. People are flawed. They make decisions. They make mistakes. And that's what he did for years. It was just you had a better roster, a better quarterback to overcome those. And his genius helped overcome and paper over their mistakes. It's just now that's all you have. You're 25 and 26, and it's really hard times.
It's amazing. The New England Patriots, if you include the one playoff appearance, and that was
it was the biggest game in the whole 3 years. People call it 25 and 25. I go, you can't just leave out the biggest game that would have changed the entire complexion of how we look at this period and leave it out.
Brutal. Brutal. You can't spell playoff without payoff, and that game was without one. It was an absolute freaking embarrassment. They have a losing record since Tom Brady left. Yep. That's just math. You can't we're not making that up. Like, those are just the numbers. That's just facts. And, I did a little exercise with Christian Fourier when I was working with him on the midday show on WEEI like a week ago. We did you can't choose letting Brady leave as the worst decision Bill's made or the biggest mistake that's been made in the last 5 years. So what else would you choose as that option? He said it was drafting N'Keal Harry. And I know you're doing the interviewing on the podcast, but I would love to get your spin on this too, because I think it's a fascinating question because the franchise in now that we live in the day and age of multiverses, the Flash movie, Marvel, all this other an Oscar-winning film, Best Picture is all about multiverses. Which way could the franchise have gone if just one decision was made differently? Obviously, Brady is the biggest one. Fourier said drafting N'Keal Harry because that set the offense back so much. It could have been the final spike for Brady wanting to leave town, et cetera. A lot of people said it was the Patricia thing, which I'm inclined to now think was the worst decision he's made over all of these other decisions. But at the time, I went with actually trying to win with Cam Newton and not just once Brady left, selling off all the parts, going with a full tank reset, start Stidham all the way. You go 5-11, 4-12. You trade Tooney, maybe you trade a couple other guys on the defense, and then you rebuild Philadelphia Eagles style with a lot of bigger draft picks, greater equity, and obviously they would have had the money for the uncharacteristically aggressive shopping spree. And yet a day like today, now I'm back on the Patricia move and the reverse engineered offense being the worst decision he's ever made.
That is the right choice. That is my choice. I wrote, at the time, I was a little doubtful of N'Keal Harry. One receiver, one first-round pick was not going to change the complexion of that season. Brady's off-field stuff, the history with Bill, wanting to leave, go somewhere warm, enjoy himself and feel appreciated. Okay, N'Keal Harry could have patted Tom Brady on the back 10 times every single day. It would have not have made him felt better or more appreciated by Belichick and the coaching staff, which was the root of that issue. Cam Newton, that year, I wrote again, I thought they should tank. I was with you. The problem is it just cuts against the ethos of everyone in that locker room. You don't have any credibility as a coach who's, quote, doing everything to put you in a position to win if you're playing the young guys. Did I think that was the best decision? Yes. They go ahead anyway. The Patricia one was at such a vulnerable spot in the franchise last year. Year 2 for Mac, everyone's looking ahead and forward. Not only do you screw him up, it's the faith that is baked into your experience as a Patriot. All those free agents came to play for Bill Belichick, and now in their second season, his decision to put 2 guys who have basically never coached offense in charge of it and then co-author that offense with them just by copying and pasting parts of the Rams playbook. Again, don't keep going back. That is the answer. And the thing is, it was all born from hubris. Those have largely been Belichick's mistakes. The thing is, that's in the past. They've got Bill O'Brien here. I wonder how quickly then they can just let go of this between Mac and Belichick. I don't know the answer. The fact that they're supposedly still upset about how last year went, I would try to move on. That's his message. It was the thing he said a billion times over at the owners' meetings to us just to get the reporters to shut up. But if that's your credo, if you're not resting on your laurels, look ahead. Really make this about 2023. And Mac, as far as I can tell, is really your best option given the other, rules that govern your roster building and coaching philosophy around and at that position.
Yeah, and obviously there was an excessively hyperbolic reaction to Mac Jones being the new Foxborough franchise and the savior who rode in to rescue us after the Cam Newton campaign and Tom Brady leaving town. And that's because there was such a deficit. Everyone was so still heartbroken over Brady leaving and everyone being locked up in their house for a year. And, he played good. He played well. He had a good rookie season. But to beset him the way that they did and the team around him last year was, as some said, borderline unforgivable. It was a cataclysmic mistake to do what they did last year. I still can't understand why they did it. He's made some other curious and disappointing choices over the years. But at this point now, Bill Belichick wants to win football games, reach and surpass Don Shula, regain the love and respect and the adulation around town, et cetera. That's fine and dandy. Mac Jones might very well want to play his second contract somewhere else. The best decision for the family, if you will. A lot of times mom and dad are long since ready to move on. They ride it out through high school. They get you to the best college possible. Then they go their separate ways. Mom hires a trainer. Dad gets a sports car, whatever else. And we all pretend to live happily ever after. Mac Jones may go somewhere else. Bill Belichick may not say Mac Jones is one of his favorite players of all time. He's famously said even he only wants to coach players that he likes. But right now, in the best interest of the football team is making everything work. And Bill O'Brien being like the mediator between the two of them, who just walks into the room, tells everyone to shut the F up, get to work, and let's go about trying to figure out ways to beat the Bills, the Dolphins, the Jets, and everyone else on a surprisingly difficult 2023 slate.
Yeah, maybe the most difficult in the league, according to some measurements. But let's end on the temperature take. We're going to go 0 to 100 degrees here, 100, and we'll go the team as a whole, Belichick, and we'll just keep it to Mac. If you want to throw in Kraft, great. If you were 100 degrees so hot for someone, you would jump in front of a bus for any of those. 0 degrees, you would shove them in front of a bus just to get this over with. Where are you? degrees temperature-wise on Bill, Mac, and the 2023 Patriots just right now, April 4th, as we record.
Yeah, my lifelong passion for the team always requires SPS 50 or above and an ice cold beverage to the side. That's how I roll.
Yep.
But right now, it's like 59 and raining. Yeah, like it's just like they're dulling my love of mock draft season. I'm supposed to be getting fired up and developing draft crushes, which we all know is rule number 1 of the Belichick Draft Club. You do not fall in love with any football players in advance of the NFL draft because there's a 0.0% chance they're going to get drafted. And here I am. You want to know why it's 59 and raining, Andrew? Because I'm sick and tired of discussing bad decisions, coach quarterback relationship issues, and things that they did wrong, and how those lemons haven't been thrown out of the building, but rather they're sitting in a pot, rotting and stinking up the place. Like, be adults, grow up, move on, try to win football games. Like, there's a lot of teams that are making improvements without all the public squabbling and the feuding, who would love to tap dance upon a grave the Patriots are helping freaking dig this offseason.
Right. All right, let's throw out those lemons. Let's move on to mock drafts. Mac draft season. Maybe that'll be a different podcast.
if it's a Mac draft.
Mac draft. So there's that. So here are the rules, and you will go first. As we have a 3-round Patriots mock draft. We are making selections at 14th overall, their first round pick, 46th overall, and then 76th overall in the 3rd round. We are allotted 1 trade per person. Okay, we're going to go back and forth. You'll offer your picks. I'll offer mine. I don't know what picks you've made, when your trade is going to happen. There could be multiple trades, but we stuck with 1 to keep it simple. And we're going to start here with your favorite day 3 picks, which of course would be rounds 4 through 7. Everyone's tired. We're hanging out. It's not quite hungover in the middle of the day on a Saturday, but like I'm starting to feel it. Pick 167 going, okay, we got like 4 more conference calls. I'm very happy for these guys, but I'm really looking forward to that beer. Probably a vitamin C as you have in your sweatshirt. To end the draft. So these few prospects, yes, day 3 would put a smile on your face if they become New England Patriots.
All right, let me give you. I don't really have a lot of defensive guys on my day 3 rounds 4 through 7 prospectus, because once you get past the impact players in this draft that are trying to stop you from scoring, like I'm good on the day 1 and 2 guys, but rounds 4 through 7 not so much. So I have a heavy special teams and offense day 3. I'm going to begin with probably the player I am most certain the New England Patriots are going to draft, because it addresses 2 needs. Number 1, special teams, and number 2, the deficit of drafting Rutgers guys over the last couple of years. Bill Belichick returns to form by drafting the Ray Guy winner last year, 2022, punter out of Rutgers, Adam Korsak, who landed a stunning 32 punts inside the 20 last season. This kid was the best punter in college football last year by a mile, and Belichick dips back into a very familiar well. This left-footed punter they just signed a little while ago. His name may as well be placeholder until somebody like Korsak comes in.
He also sounds like failed 1880s presidential candidate Corliss Waitman. Like a lot of respect from where he's come from. Somehow the time machine he took and then learned to punt. I think he's Belgian, even like maybe he was a Belgian, politician back then. But yeah, I don't think Corliss is sticking around.
No, I don't know. It sounds like somebody who like walked out and pronounced Abraham Lincoln dead on arrival after being shot at the Ford's Theater. We're also going to dip into another familiar well. Belichick has now, what's surprisingly, Andrew, become the new Rutgers for Belichick is Michigan. Mm-hmm. Like Belichick pretty much takes at least 1 Michigan guy every year. Much respect for the program. A lot of guys stick around for all 4 years, which is a big deal for him. Your new place kicker to replace my guy, Big Kick Nick himself, Nick Folk, who was not able to convert several 50-yard plus kicks last year. This man has a cannon for a leg, righted his accuracy issues, and hit one of the most impressive kicks I've ever seen in a college football semifinal in my life from 59 yards against TCU in a game Michigan blew 10 different ways. Jake Moody, Wolverine.
I love it.
Like it. Yeah, I think he'll be, like 5th round, right in the Rohrwasser spot, as some kids like to call it. 5th round, 6th round.
that spot is a gravestone. That's what that is. And there's a tattoo design on the stone. And you just walk past quietly and go, oh yeah, that was quick. All right. Before we get to my picks, quick reminder for you. Have you been to a Sox game yet?
This year, no.
No, there have only been what, 3, 4, 5?
There have been 4. I've been to a Woo Sox game so far, which was a surprisingly good take. And if you've not been out there, the good food, fun ballpark, affordable prices, and local craft beers as far as the eye can see, under $10.
Excellent. Well, I don't know if you can bet on the Woo Sox. You can bet on the Red Sox now, of course, as you know. And I'm here to remind folks from the good friends at FanDuel who support this podcast. So if you like us, please support them. Grand slams, no hitters, and double plays are back, and there's no better place to get in on the MLB action. Bigger bases this season than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book and the official partner. There it is, Fitzy, with the FanDuel app on his phone and an official partner of Major League Baseball. New customers in Massachusetts can get in the action with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. I used all of mine on UConn. It was back when this live read had to do with college basketball. All you got to do, place a $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston. And you can bet not only on the Red Sox, but of course the Celtics going into the playoffs, the Bruins going into the playoffs, the NFL draft, as we talked before, player props. They have odds right now, actually, Fitzy. Offensive tackle, corner, receiver. We can get into this later. If you were to put one bet down on the Patriots first round pick, what position are you going with?
Offensive tackle.
All right. So you can bet now on an app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Don't miss your chance to get that $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Just visit FanDuel.com/Boston and make every moment more at FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball. 21 and over, must be present in Massachusetts. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as a non-withdrawable. Bonus bet expired in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Hope is here. If you have gambling problems, just go to gamblinghelpma.org or call 800-327 for 24/7 support. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com or call 1-800-GAM-1234. All right, here we go.
That's my favorite part of the read. It's always the fact that the disclaimer is as long as the actual ad itself. But we got it. With great power in your pocket comes great responsibility as well.
Yes, and we have had our friend Mike McNancy on the pod multiple times. He's reminding everyone and did when we talked about the Super Bowl a couple months ago. Bet responsibly. This is not to guaranteed to win money. It's the way to, spice things up a little bit. You might win some money, as mentioned. I have with FanDuel. Shout outs to them. I'll give you a little bonus to start, and then it's your decisions to go from there. But keep the stakes fun.
Exactly.
Not vital. Okay.
And I find it interesting too, Andrew. This is worth mentioning just for 5 seconds as we talk about the Patriots having such a difficult schedule ahead of them and the work that they have cut out for them. So it's best to stop infighting and get to branching back out to team building, and then the fans will go back in tow and forget all this. Hopefully it'll blow over. The fact that the New England Patriots have already improved their roster, improved their entire coaching scheme, and look at least inside the building to be back on track. Vegas has given them their longest Super Bowl odds since Bill Belichick took over as HC of the NEP. They're 75-1. No, they're 80-1 in some books. It like insanely long odds. And they dropped their win total from a previous season to 7.5. I mean, just on the lipstick written wall of things that piss off Robert Kraft has to be the fact that Vegas is telling them that they might win 8 games if they're lucky. It's just unthinkable. The day and age we live in, dude, is strange.
So as I told you before we started, I might get some calls from people that I called, reached a few of them, not all around the league, some within the team. Team text just came in as you were going on. The quote is, but the text is, "Stop panicking, LOL." In response to my screenshot of the Florio story saying, "Can we talk?" And it was just "Stop panicking." So maybe that text was meant for you. He might have known that you and I were going to talk, but maybe that's
funny.
If it doesn't,
I like it.
South Carolina cornerback Darius Rush. He is a borderline 3rd, 4th round pick, converted wide receiver. I had him in my first mock. He's got excellent ball skills, a little over 6'1". Senior Bowl, very, very strong. I think he's a guy who's still got a little bit more game to be developed. I think that's going to be the sweet spot for them at corner, and I think you could do worse than a guy who's played a lot of man coverage at South Carolina. You don't say that a lot in college football. Another one, Texas defensive tackle Keandre Coburn. This dude is big. This is like Planet Theory. Only so many human beings are 6'2", 340, 350 pounds. Ooh. I heard he slimmed down since playing at Texas, where they wanted to keep him at that weight. He feels great now, light feet. Only a 2-down player, but I've been begging, mocking, projecting them to take a defensive tackle in the later rounds. It hasn't happened. I have so many useless backup nose tackles in my head stash that are on practice squads in Minnesota and Detroit. I'm like, oh, he should have been a Patriot. I don't think Keandre Coburn will be one of those players. His tape is up and down, but I think they can get the best out of him. And again, there are only so many human beings like this. Lawrence Guy's getting up there in age. Larry, the tackle guy. Last one, I have a kicker. Is not Jake Moody. Okay. Yes. His name is Chad Ryland out of Maryland, transferred from Eastern Michigan. Disclaimer, I do not know Chad well whatsoever, but I covered Chad in high school. Cedar Crest High School, Lebanon, Pennsylvania, 2015. He played football, naturally kicked, and baseball. So you can find old articles, don't read the whole thing, of me talking about his games and his hits back in Lebanon. Granted, this was 8-9 years ago now. He has the leg to connect from over 50 yards. He's consistent. He can kick off by all counts. Good kid, has his head on straight. And I think we'll be in the small but very, key pool of kickers who are considered draftable. So if not Jake Moody, keep an eye on Chad Ryland.
And sneaky aspect to the New England Patriots riding the ship on special teams as well was the loss of Jake Bailey. Again, going back to, or just trying to whistle past the graveyard of dysfunction that is only the New England Patriots could get into a friggin' squabble with their punter, suspend him, and cost themselves potentially a game because Jake Bailey handled kickoff duty last year. And they wanted him to squat. He hurts his back. He's not ready to come back. They suspend him. Now they cut him. He's kicking in Miami. And he's probably happier for it. All parties moving on. But to be the best punter in the league 1 year, and then 2 years later, get cut by the team that loved you. Still a little bit of a head scratcher, but they like having Nick Folk kick off and going from Bailey blasting it through the end zone to Nick Folk only being able to reach like the 5 or 6 yard line last year. That was a big deal for the Patriots. Like these are some of those things that should tilt the wins back in favor of the Patriots in 2023. And it starts with Moody or your guy Ryland.
And look at you coming around already. This is what we can count on for the healthy, amusing optimism around the team. There it is. We're going to kiss and wave to everybody that's definitely standing around on your end of things. But yeah, and you know what? It's I know what irritates you is among all those other things. They just fall in the category, the bucket of not football, drama, politics, grudges, pettiness, whatever it is. You get back to ball, what that building is about. That building, mind you, at least currently before we get into the renovations, 0 windows. And that is for a reason. Focus on ball. And yet that's not been the case the last 12 months plus. All right.
0 windows.
The mock draft is finally here. What we have been texting about, talking about, preparing for. Third round, the Patriots are scheduled to pick at number 76 overall. What is your pick? And if not your pick, what is your trade?
Ding, 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 ding. The New England Patriots address their need for someone, as Tom Curran likes to say, who can get open in a phone booth, somebody who's got the twitch, who's got the speed, who can burn, who has experience, and he's from someplace familiar where they also drafted a twitchy, speedy, undersized burner last year, thus allowing Marcus Jones to focus on special teams and being a nickelback. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Nathaniel Tank Dell, wide receiver, University of Houston. 109 catches, 1,400 yards, 17 touchdowns in the 2022 season. This guy would provide all the necessary quick flash and explosion they sorely lack in the middle of the field right now.
And in a word, he's just fun, man. Like we can talk about Marcus Jones, and he was the player I was most looking forward to last year in this draft class of just, he set the freaking NCAA record for kick return touchdowns. I don't know what records Dell has set or not set, but you just go, he's going to make my Sundays a little bit more enjoyable. And at this point, scouts don't care about that. I care about that. And I think for them, he's a water bug. Like he said, he gets open. He's got the sure hands. He's certainly going to fall because he's too small. Ultimately, if they want to go slot, and I'm getting further away from that idea because you got Gesicki in there, Juju's going to play a lot in the slot. But you make plays and you make room for a kid like that with a specialized skill set that I think, again, would be, he gets off to a hot start. I mean, he might be one of their top jersey sellers because, A, there's not a whole lot of competition right now. But everyone wants to be Marcus Jones right now. That's because he was taking bubble screens to the house along with a kick return, a punt return.
Yeah, punt return last year. The kid is the first one since Deion Sanders to score, returning a kick, a pick, and on a wide receiver, on a touchdown catch as well. Like Marcus Jones was awesome, but he says he's a defensive back first. Over at the Six Rings pod, we begged and opined for months for them to give him a play on offense. They did. Look what happens. His first catch, he gets a touchdown against Buffalo. The only highlight in that awful affair last November as well. But I have a feeling they're going to want him to focus on the two things he does best, or at least they believe he does best, which is play the nickel Jonathan Jones, for all we know, may still have to stick outside next year because you'll probably see Mills over at safety. This allows this guy to just come in and help them just make the middle of the field where Mac does his best work because he's such an accurate quarterback, 10 yards and under, make it more unpredictable, more dangerous, quicker. They just need speed, explosion, and fun, like you said, Andrew. And I think a guy like that would be a perfect fit.
All right. Stop me if you've heard this one before. A raw and gifted athlete falls due to injury concerns. He's about 6'5", 6'6", 255 pounds, traditional Y tight end, drafted into Bill O'Brien's offense, who can make a big impact, if healthy, in year one. This is not Gronk 2.0, but with the 76th pick in the 2023 NFL draft, the Patriots take Tucker Kraft, South Dakota State tight end. He is a two-way tight end, can play inline, can be split out wide. His current comps are Pat Freiermuth and Heath Miller. Steelers, of course, seem like his destiny now that I say that. But he was hurt virtually all of last year, basically didn't play. Prior to last year, with the transfer portal, had a lot of interest from Alabama. We know who, of course, was at Alabama, Bill O'Brien. And the year before, in 2021, playing against granted FCS competition, 770 yards, 6 touchdowns, incredibly smooth athlete, only runs a 4.6, but he's fast enough to threaten down the seams. Bench presses, very jealous of this, 23 reps at 225 pounds. Incredible broad jump, speaks to the verticality, the explosiveness. He's a guy who, again, fits their mold as we need an impact blocker. He can do that. You don't need him to play right away with Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki. Give him a year to season to develop. He's a day 2 talent that you get at this spot, I think would be great value for them. And as we know, they've hit on some FCS guys before.
Yeah, and this is maybe not the most wide receiver rich pool, which is why I think even though right now the New England Patriots are meeting with Jordan Addison, went to the pro day of Quentin Johnson. They're having Zay Flowers come back. He's being invited to the first night of the NFL draft. They also had Jackson Smith and Jigba in town because he went to the Sox game. His brother plays for the Pirates. So they've kicked the tires on and done due diligence, as you'll say, with the first round wide receivers. I think they go later on with them because they feel like they've invested in the receiver room. Tight end room, you may not have Hunter Henry after next year. Gesicki's only on a 1-year deal, and everyone knows he's a giant, oversized wide receiver in tight end's uniform. This is a very deep tight end room. That's why I'm going to go there next with my pick in the second round, surprisingly. But there's any number of guys. Was it Luke Musgrave out of Oregon State? I would love to see them. The Kincaid kid, your guy Kraft, and there's 2 or 3 others that a lot of people say can easily be impact starters within 2 years. So let's hope that we don't find more Asiasis and Rambo Keens and more guys like your guy Kraft, maybe Musgrave, or my pick. One of 2 picks in the second round because the New England Patriots engineer a first round trade. Spoiler alert, it's coming up. With their second of 2 picks in the second round, Andrew Callahan on the Pats Interpod, pick 54, acquired from the Los Angeles Chargers. The New England Patriots select specimen, freak athlete, raw tight end project, Darnell Washington, tight end out of Georgia. Belichick once again dipping back into the freakish athlete who's a tight end pool from Georgia. He did so years ago with Ben Watson. They do it again because he's just going to take pure size, speed, and power and hope that the fact that they can stash him and let him watch from some pros will help him develop into Watson 2.0 and beyond.
He is another player that, like Dell, on the opposite end of the height weight spectrum, just makes football a little bit more fun on now Sundays and certainly on Saturdays. People forget and look at his numbers at Georgia and go, okay, well, he can't be that good. I mean, first of all, he's surrounded by other weapons, okay, in a run heavy offense. You just watch him operate though one-on-one. It could be blocking, it could be in the open field. Like that is a 6'8" man in cleats running at 270 pounds. Get out of the way if you want to survive. And I think it's another player that could be developed. And I think, again, it's not quite Planet Theory with the defensive lineman, but it's close. I mean, you're not having 6'8" tight ends, maybe like a Leonard Pope, another Georgia guy going way back 15, 20 years, who could fit like that. But there is some untapped potential here. Like, oh no, his knee bend doesn't get that low. Like, buddy, he's starting 3 stairs up on, or on the ladder here, like than the rest of us. Of course, it's going to take him a little while to get low. But if the Patriots take their time with him, I love that pick. I think if he's around there, that's a home run. People are talking about maybe late round 1. He seems like prime top of your day 2 list when we're all producing those Friday morning after a late Thursday night. But man, that would be a lot of fun.
It would be a lot of fun. And you can sort of tell the theme to my draft is I want to make Foxborough fun again. That's my whole goal, whether, from the media work we have to do to the still childlike joy that I hold in my heart that the Patriots are doing everything they can to stomp on or try to rid me of, to the Jumbotron action as a super fan in the stands. I just want this team to be fun again because we're coming off of the most insufferable having your flight canceled and sleeping over in the airport kind of season with the Patriots.
What number do you want him to wear? I think, did he wear 0 at Georgia? Like, that's stuck in my mind. And if not, I want it to be 0 now that it's 11. Like, get out of the way, Jack Jones.
Yeah, I know. Jack Jones wants it, though. And that's a good question. Darnold, let me see what number he wore there at Georgia. Anyway.
It was 0. So, yeah, just come in. He'll wear the 52 or the whatever 53 that Bill's going to give him.
Good God.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just as a monster of a human being. It would be fun to see them try to do something with him. Now, of course, once again, I'm not falling in love with him because then I'll start seeing him in a uniform, smashing and dashing, like giving us those Gronkowski vibes all over again. And then they'll take a tight end that neither of us have ever heard before. But yeah, anyway, that's the second of 2 second-round picks the Pats make.
All right, well, we are moving up. The first trade announced terms of our Patriots mock draft is here. The Patriots are not picking at 46. They are moving up from 46 to number 38 because they have done this in the second round now 4 straight years in a row. 2019, Joanne Williams moved up to grab him. 2020, Josh Uche came back at the back end of the second round to grab him. Christian Barmore, first round grade. Let's go into the 30s. Grab him. Yep. Tyquan Thornton, of course, last year. I think they see value in these trades on day 2. You have time to sift out, make some calls before Friday night. Players with first round grades fall, early second round grades fall. You're not giving up as much draft capital. You still feel really good about these players. And when they look at this player, who is a cornerback from the SEC, whom they trade the 46th and 107th pick, one of their 3 fourth-rounders. We got more. We can give one away. And it's about equal when it comes to the updated modern trade value charts. He had 14 interceptions in college. 6 of them went back to the end zone. Okay, so you've got ball skills. You've got man coverage skills. The 2 boxes you need to check if you're going to play corner in New England. And Emmanuel Forbes at a Mississippi State can come on down.
Stop it.
Yes.
You have got to be kidding me. We both picked the same guy without seeing each other's cheat sheet. Get the flip out of here.
6'1", 170 pounds, might lose a wrestling match to you or I, but he is covering us proverbial white on rice, and then he is taking that rice and spiking into the end zone. I mentioned 6 pick sixes, runs a 4.35, no 3-cone times, a little concerning, played mostly off zone in Mississippi State. And again, versatile defensive back, willing tackler against a run. Talked to him a little bit when he's up on the podium at the combine. Wanted to get into his film study. Very detailed guy. Like, I think they take 2 seconds, look at the numbers and the tape, say it's an easy projection. The 170 pounds is a concern, though, because it's not only just he's 170, Jack Jones is 174, whatever he is. It's 170 stretched out at 6'1". So maybe some injury concerns. But for me, again, the biggest boxes are checked. Second round value. You trade up to go get a guy you love. I watched his tape and I stopped after a little bit because I broke the one rule of the Patriots mock draft club. Don't fall in love. But here we are.
You're only going to get your heart broken, and so am I, because I was looking for corner for months now, as I'm sure you have as well, but with the 3 main priorities heading into the draft for the New England Patriots being offensive tackle, wide receiver, and cornerback number 1, or at least a cornerback who's over 6 feet tall that can play the outside and has man zone flexibility. I can't decide. I haven't been able to decide largely which way I thought they would go in the first round. And I thought there was enough value in the second round. That's why I thought the Pats would make a trade in the first round, and they'd want to pick up an extra second round pick because there's such a deep pool of corners and tight ends available to them. And that's where, like you said, Belichick will do his real damage and value shopping. And of all the corners I saw, not named Christian Gonzalez, Joey Porter Jr., Emmanuel Forbes, Mississippi State is the one that impressed me so much that I made him pick number 46. So they have pick 54 from the Chargers, which they get in a first round day 1 trade, and they keep their 46th overall pick. And that's where they take Forbes. You're making me think that Emmanuel Forbes is they're going to have to trade up and go sooner. If they decide to do so, so be it, young Skywalker, because this kid is long, fast, sub 440 speed, great hands, the 14 picks, 6 last year, and he played in the SEC. So it's not like he was doing this against schlubs, scrubs, and just another Joe's.
He went 25th in Todd McShay's mock draft today to the Giants, who play a ton of man coverage, blitz a lot, are going to need guys like this. Again, it seems high for a guy who you look at and go, one bad hit, one turn ankle could be gone. He played most of his games. Like, injuries weren't a concern in Mississippi State. I just think in the league, it's a little bit different. Ask any number of short quarterbacks that we're starting to learn, maybe Russell Wilson and Drew Brees were the exceptions and not the rule, being 6 foot or shorter. Obviously, that's a different position, a lot less physical, quarterback going to cornerback. But yeah, I think he fits what they want. The only issue for me is if they look at this class as being so deep, and again, I've already said, I think, they'll grab a corner in the 3rd or 4th round, similar to what they did with Marcus and Jack Jones a year ago. Mm-hmm. They'll target those guys that fall for whatever reason, but they like because they can play man coverage and they've got ball skills. But as far as those go, you're going to have a hard time finding a better package than Emmanuel Forbes with those traits. The only higher one, which I would turn in this card in 3 seconds, but I feel like he's destined to be a Detroit Lion, is Devin Witherspoon out at Illinois, who is just a freaking stud and hits like he's been launched from across, the ocean, and just lands and hits. He's also got 4 picks, plays a ton of man coverage, blah, blah, blah. But I think he'll be gone by 14. It sounds like they're not going to stay at 14, though, by the way you've been talking about this trade with the Chargers.
Yes. No, as a matter of fact, they will not be staying at 14. I know there are many that want the Patriots to trade up and maybe move up a couple spots. They have a friend in Houston who may be willing to listen to or entertain their call at pick number 12, and old pal Nick Caserio. But I actually have the New England Patriots engineering a night one of the draft trade. They will take the call from the Los San Diego Chargers, who have pick number 21. They will swap spots with the Chargers. According to the draft value chart, the Patriots are able to get a small draft value win, taking the Chargers' 21st overall pick and their 2nd round pick, 54, which they use on Darnell Washington. At pick 14, the Chargers select running back Bijan Robinson out of University of Texas to draft behind and then one day replace Austin Eckler, making that offense even more impossible to defend this upcoming season. Patriots fall back to 21 and address one of the most glaring needs on the team, who can impact the team next year and could be the left tackle of the future, a giant wall of pass blocking, run, shoving humanity. Out of the University of Tennessee, I volunteer Darnell Wright. Did we have 2 of the same 3 picks?
I got bad news for you. They're taking him at 14.
Holy shit, are we hive mind, guy?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know if I think this makes for worse podcasting, but we're going to dig ourselves out of this. I'll let you go. I'm surprised you put him at left tackle based on his success at right tackle last year, just making a punching bag at a Will Anderson projected top 5 pick, but take it from here.
I eventually he does. I think you could be looking at a reverse Isaiah Wynn type situation because Isaiah Wynn, left tackle with the short arms, who wasn't getting it done. They move him over. He really is more of a guard, maybe. He ends up going to right tackle, complains, even mouth back to the nicest man in all of professional sports reporting, and Mike Reese last year. And I think that's when all Pats fans were out on him. Darnell Wright can go to right tackle next year. Listen, this bum fight that the Patriots are engineering between like Riley Reif and Calvin Anderson and Connor McDermott, all serviceable, probably perfectly nice human beings, serviceable swing tackles and maybe right tackles in a pinch. I don't want someone who's just there as a stopgap. I don't want someone who's just okay. I want someone who is mammoth. Give me something. You're not going to find Trent Brown around every corner or just down the street. But if you could put Darnell Wright at right tackle this season, this is the last year of Trent Brown's deal, and then maybe he has a full season to learn the pro game and then maybe switch back to left tackle the year after that, and you can figure out what you want to do at right tackle at that point. So be it. But with a guy who is this nasty, this huge, moves this well, and isn't Paris Johnson, who's probably going to go even higher in the draft now that he put on that whale of a pro day, running honestly like Darnell Washington. This guy just screams Patriot to me, and you can get him at an available spot. I'm shocked that you feel the need to go get him all the way up at 14. You think he's really worth it?
So from the people I talked to at the combine, because I had been eyeing him, okay, he plays right tackle, which is a big box to be checked for them, because I don't think they want to keep pulling Trent Brown from left to right and back again, even though Belichick once called him basically having a switch hitter who bats 300. I would argue Trent Brown is probably like a poor man's Adam Dunn, who was, I don't think, even a switch hitter. Bigger dude, going to hit 240. But when he gets you, he gets a hold of you. Darnell Wright plays right tackle. He has played left. The SEC competition part of this is big. Matt Groh has said pass protection is the number one box for them to check when it comes to offensive tackles. He allowed a pressure rate of 1.7% last season, according to PFF. That was third best behind Dwan Jones and Peter Skoronski. If Skoronski's there, I think they take him. I think he'll be gone.
He'll be gone.
Dwan Jones, I've not heard the best things about behind the scenes. Nothing damning, but a guy who kind of calls it quits after one day at the Senior Bowl when he had a good practice is not going to appeal to the hyper-competitive Patriots. Darnell Wright, though, who, as I mentioned, shut down Will Anderson, then did the same to LSU's B.J. Ojulari, who could sneak into the first round. He's a good enough athlete. He's tough. He's played both sides. Ton of experience. They can stomach Riley Reef for a week or two if he needs to be developed and seasoned. Like, he's just a plug-and-play kind of guy. And I think for them, you got the Steelers behind you at 17. They could use a right tackle, fits that mold. Daniel Jeremiah said there's now an argument, given how he's progressed over the draft season, including his pro day, combine interviews, to maybe be the top offensive tackle in this draft. Wow. I'm not there. I'm not going to say I've spent as much time scouting the tackles as Daniel Jeremiah. But I think from the Patriots' perspective, as we both know, given last year, they don't give a flying F about what you think of offensive linemen on your board. Where they have them, they're going to take them. And I think Darnell Wright is the next example.
I would love it. I started here, which was Patriots taking a tackle, and this was at the tail end of the season. And over the last couple of months, I've allowed myself to think or dream that they would take a wide receiver. Then I locked in on corner, especially after they signed Calvin Anderson and Riley Reef, and I'm thinking they're just going to throw 1,000 bodies and hope one sticks at the position. And I've returned back to where I began after the Buffalo game, because if you can protect Mac longer and better in Bill O'Brien's reconfigured Bill O'Brien offense, if you can open up some lanes in the running game, it looks to me like they're probably going to try to take advantage of the running backs out in space now that you've got two running backs that are excellent catching the ball with Ramondre Stevenson and James Robinson. Who even knows what they're going to do with Harrison Strong. You're going to need some mobile, athletic guys bookending your offensive line. I think they're good at guard. We'll see if they have their center of the future on the roster or if they need to address it, because poor David Andrews has been pinballed around so much with injuries the last couple of years. Still can play at a high level, but this kid is mammoth and he's super athletic and just fits the mold. And SEC level competition, like you said, he went up against the best. And the Will Anderson one is the one that's most impressive, because people are talking about him like he's the second coming of Reggie White entering the draft. And for Darnell Wright to do a damn good job against him impresses the hell out of me. Yeah,
Will Anderson would have gone to the top 5 a year ago and then had a slightly lesser season, probably more attention slid over to him at Alabama in 2022. Did you have a close second for this pick, or were you locked in on Wright?
When I thought the trade back would happen, originally I was thinking about going with Paris Johnson, but I know I'm all but certain that the Jets are going to take him at 13, so long as they don't cough up that pick to Green Bay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting draft because the positions you listed, and I think everyone's in agreement on this: offensive tackle, receiver, are the ones they've got to attack, and cornerback, of course, too. Are all positions where they're right there at 14. The names that you might want to take at any of those spots. And of course, is the same reason why the Patriots go, well, we'll just trade back and we'll take a mid-round corners. I think they're going to do, and they'll do that with at least one of them, maybe even two. But I think the one that they commit to is offensive tackle. The history is there. The need is there. Clearly with free agency, which was basically we'll run it back on defense, make slight upgrades on offense, and just call it a day, they're like, depth is not going to be an issue for us at offensive tackle. Like, we are not going to spend next season with a revolving door at right tackle saying, as Bill did, thank God we got Connor McDermott. Okay, sure. But that's the position I think they invest in. I really don't have a close second. My close second is trade back. You combine those into one pick, and I think very well could happen. Beyond that, it's, again, I don't think it's going to be corner. Maybe they do get a Jordan Addison at a USC. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think, would fit very well here. I'm lower than on Zay Flowers and consensus. Mm-hmm. Michael Mayer at a Tennessee, or Mayer at a Notre Dame is another name to keep in mind. Two-way tight end, trade back, early 20s, could fit in there. And then you're just good, because they typically draft a year ahead, right, in the first round. Mm-hmm. And that's a guy who would kind of fill in as your tight end number 2 because Gesicki's not playing anywhere in line. And of course, potentially be your tight end of the future if they really like him. But
yeah. And I was thinking the same thing because I just went back and looked that up a moment ago. In 2011, they still had Matt Light playing at a very high level. Some may even say the 2011 season was one of his best. And then he retires at the tail end of their disappointing defeat in Super Bowl 46. Played a great game as well. They drafted Nate Solder that season, and Solder was supposed to, behind Vollmer and Light, just learn the game, play as a backup, come in some jumbo packages. He ended up having to start some games that season, and then seamlessly in 2012 took over and was a rock for the next 5 seasons for the Patriots before he took big money and went down to the Giants. I could see that exactly being the case here. Like you said, Riley Reif may start at right tackle, Trent Brown at left. You got Darnell Wright learning and drafting. He may have to sub in on one or either side because eventually someone's going to miss a game or 3 when a knee gets rolled up on, et cetera. I mean, do you want to put in Connor McDermott, or do you want to get this kid's toes wet against some top competition, getting him ready for playing tackle in the AFC East? I'd love to see it. That Tennessee offense last year was so much fun. If you told me Jalen Hyatt found his way to the Patriots in the second round, if you told me, the tension is real, Mac will probably be gone next year, so we're going to make him look good this year, deal him away, and they're going to grab Hendon Hooker, and they're going to make that kid the quarterback of the future, I would borderline be fine with it all because they were just so much fun to watch.
Yeah. Hendon Hooker. Jalen Hyatt, my initial knee-jerk reaction is, he just doesn't fit what they want at wide receiver. He's kind of a one speed, tiny route tree. And then I'm reminded that in discussing their draft class last year with Phil Perry, we analogize it to, you break up with one girl and then swing so far in the other direction where all of their picks were just Tyquan Thornton was not anywhere near my board. Like he wasn't in my neighborhood with the terrible 3-cone time. Great. He's got a fast forward. He's razor thin. And they not only just draft him in the second round, but trade up to do so. So where are they on receivers? How are they scouting them? Have they changed their scouting? I don't know. But I'm with you that I thought, we might even have more of a fun pick there for Darnell Wright in your fun Patriots draft. But look, I think it would fit great. Obviously you do too. Maybe I change my mind between now and draft day or my last 7-round mock for the Herald. I don't think it's going to happen. But we'll see. All right, you got time for a mailbag?
As you're allowed to do. And by the way, I forgot to mention Jonathan Mingo out of Ole Miss was my other day 3 guy. Yeah,
a good one. I think too with the receiver conversation, I would focus more on the perimeter guys. Like Dell, again, you create plays for. He creates offense in his own. They need more guys like that.
Find a way to use a guy that quick.
Yards after catch. You don't have to scheme everything open all the time for them. But Mingo makes sense as kind of a perimeter guy who's been batted around a lot. Mailbag?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Cam via Twitter wants to know percentage chance the Patriots trade for Jerry Jeudy before or during the draft. I'm going to give this a solid 5.6%.
5.6, huh?
5.6 on the dot.
You're going to go channel 56. Okay. I'll give it 8. Like I can't even go a full 10. Like I wanted it to happen. I think he's a star in bloom. I think if Sean Payton were so desperate to up the draft capital in the Broncos because of what they hemorrhaged in the Mr. Unlimited trade last year, that he had to part ways with who could be their best receiver because of Sutton, because of Hamler, Tim Patrick returning from the ACL, one of the better number 3 receivers in the NFL. But Jeudy is the best of the lot. He's going to be to a quarterback what Steph Diggs was to Josh Allen, what ultimately A.J. Brown was to Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. He's great, and he and Mac have familiarity with each other. Like they played at Alabama in that truncated season where he filled in for 2 in 2019. But KJ Hamler's hurt. He's out for the next 6 months with torn pectoral surgery. And, I think they want to see what they can get out of him. He had the second best yards of separation last year in the NFL. He was almost open by 4 yards of reception last year. Like he is such a surgeon at route running, and he's faster than people think. I would have pulled the trigger. I would have sent to 1 and asked for a 2 back.
Yeah, I don't know if I've said it here or elsewhere or just thought about it. Like why Denver is so compelled to offload him with not only 1 year left in his deal, but a 5th-year option after that, where the A.J. Brown deal was he was a 2nd-round pick. He didn't have a 5th-year option. Like he was going to his final year with Tennessee, wanted an extension, didn't get it. They say, okay, we'll wash our hands of it. And the Eagles did great business acquiring him for a 1st-round pick. Like you could have Jerry Jeudy for another year. Why are they so urgent to just deal him now. There must be something else going on. Mind you, he got all that separation playing in a Nathaniel Hackett freaking offense with the worst version of Russell Wilson we've seen since he was at NC State. So there's something else here going on about Jeudy that I think we don't know is being overlooked, where it's really cooled his market because Dallas was like, we'll take Brandon Cooks. Cleveland goes, Elijah Moore, you're fine. We'll take the Store Brown discount version of Jerry Jeudy. So if you're the Patriots, you're only emboldened by this. Again, 5.6%, whatever you want to put. I just don't think it's going to happen. Well,
it's not going to happen.
But not great. All right, next one.
And I'll tell you what, if they were damn near determined to keep Mac Jones and he was the quarterback of the future, that's a Mac guy. They would go out and make a greater effort to get the guy. So there's another little hat tip towards the future of the Pats as well.
West Side P, do you think things will get worse before they get better as far as the relationship with Kraft and Belichick? West Side P, probably listening to some talk radio or watching some TVs. I had to discuss this when we were discussing on Felger and Holly, the location of his pin that he was wearing at the owners' meetings, which was kind of a dick move having it down that low when the pin is representing, fighting anti-Semitism. That being said, look, the bottom line for Bill and Mac, Bill and Kraft is just win. Okay. Bill O'Brien's expected to come in here, raise the floor, eliminate a lot of the mistakes, maximize the talent available. If you go 9-8 in a couple hard luck losses, at least you're not going, we're 8-9, missed the playoffs, and it was because we blew so many games and had the worst coaches. You at least tread water. I think things will be fine. There's a lot more hot air right now based on the comments they made, which were alarming, worthy of, doing podcasts about them and talking about them on TV. I just think the only thing that'll make things better is winning. So if you believe they're going to have a good season, the answer is yes. If not, then the answer is no.
You've heard me use this phrase before, but again, at the owners' meetings in Arizona last week, just more obtusely Belichickian behavior. Just has to move the NFL Network microphone. Has to seem like the last thing he wants to do. He'd rather be home doing his taxes than here speaking to everybody about the upcoming season.
He hates the owners' meetings.
Hates him with a passion. I was stunned. Stunned he actually took the photo. He never takes the coach's photo. So he must have wanted to do it to honor his pal Andy Reid or Harbaugh. Who knows? But I thought wearing the pin down around his waist on his shirt, hiding it from the camera's eyes so as to not have it draw attention, was just a weirdly Bill type of thing to do. But B, kind of a dick move because, like you said, like the cause, which his owner, his boss, who made it very clear to everybody that that's my football team and Bill works for him, that, it's against anti-Semitism, a huge camp. Julian Edelman speaks out on behalf of it. He's an advocate. Robert Kraft has made this another one of the causes that he champions. It's an easy opportunity to wear it there and just say something like could have said like, man,
say more than I support it. Give me a fourth word.
How about just there's no room in this world for any sort of bias, violence against, or hate toward the Jewish people. And I love the fact that Mr. Kraft does this, and I fully support him and this cause. I think Andy and I talked about this on the Six Rings pod. Remember, Burj is Burj Nigerian is Armenian. Croatian. He's Armenian, and there were the Armenian genocides and violence in Armenia. And he talked about that at length last year. Like he went on and on and on, like it was talking special teams, or he was talking about Chris Board for 5 minutes one day. And this is all he could give. That to me, that shows that he either knew the Lamar Meek Mill text was going to get brought up and he didn't want to deal with it, or that things with them are kind of weird right now. Like, Robert sent that email to the season ticket members January 9th. And Robert the next night was responsible for the press release that said, we're pursuing an offensive coordinator and doing everything we can to retain Gerard Mayo, who I think we all can agree is the head coach in waiting of the New England Patriots, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I think we answered this question for Ashley already. She wants to know, quote, more likely trading up at 14, trading down, picking a wide receiver, offensive tackle, or corner. Of all those options, I'm going to say trade down and pull the Fitzy. If they get to trade down and still get Darnell Wright, that is a excellent grade A, first round done deal draft.
A+.
I think the corner depth is going to appeal to them. The receivers don't wow them. And I've said this on this podcast many times, they feel much better about their pass catching group than the rest of us do. And so they're happy to ride with that, take a second, third, fourth round flyer and a receiver. So it's really down to offensive tackle or trading down, because trading up is just, we'll get to this in the next question. I just, unless they're really, really, really in love with somebody, and they never really are. I think it's something like 9 trades down in the first round and 2 up in the last 20 years. And those were both in 2012 for Dante Hightower and Chandler Jones.
Which was an absolutely spectacular draft as well. The second round trade up that you outlined earlier in the pod makes total sense. And now that we've laid all of this out, that a wide receiver, cornerback, or most likely an offensive tackle could be in their crosshairs in the first round, they'll trade up and take Brian Branch, safety from Alabama, or they'll grab a quarterback, and then it'll just be like, oh, what the hell? Really? We're doing this again? Why? Because Bill. That's why.
So you're with me here?
100% in lockstep.
All right, last one.
For God's sakes, we picked 2 of the same 3 people.
Yeah, this was so lame. Jordan says, quote, I understand trading down can be good value, but shouldn't the Patriots be trying to attain as many blue chip players as possible? There's a higher chance of getting those blue chip players at 14 than 24 or 64. He assuming that they trade back. The blue chip conversation is a good one to have, because this is the way that the fans and people involved in college football frame this, right? Like if you look at all the national championships going back to, whenever the recruiting databases were really started and charting who has X amount of 5 stars and 4 stars, it is the strongest correlation you're going to have with the champions at the end of every season. How many of those players, those blue chip players, do you have? For the Patriots, again, there's a salary cap that they have to contend with. And I don't want to have the salary cap conversation. But for them in this draft, where I think you might have 3 or 4 at the top, if they're not in a position of need, you're paying exorbitant prices to go up and get one. Whereas if you took, as opposed to 1 5-star, but you feel like you can get a 4-star at 24, and then, as I said, trade up to 38 and get 2 of those 4 stars versus 5, you've got like 75% blue chip players. Like what they need is an infusion of talent. And I agree. You just can't give up your opportunity to get a second 4-star betting on a 5-star who might not even pan out in this kind of hybrid NFL college football scenario that I put together.
The Patriots are desperate for and have been in deficit of star power now for a couple of years. You made mention earlier, like, whose jersey are you going to buy? Marcus Jones might be a jersey people will buy. There's a lot of Joneses on the Patriots, obviously, for whose jersey you could be wearing. Maybe Matt Judon, Mac Jones.
Tank Dell, baby. Come on down.
Tank Dell. That's what I'm saying. Like Tank Dell, everyone's going to want. That kid gets out there, takes like a 5-yard swing pass to the house one day. Next thing you know, his red throwback will be flying off the shelves at the Patriots Pro Shop. But to me, they need, you obviously made mention that the picks I was making and the people I've been talking about are all about making it more fun in Foxborough again. Yeah, they need blue chippers. Yeah, they need 5 stars. They do need talent, and that's the drum that Andy Hart keeps banging on. To me, they need more flash. They need more playmakers. It's great for Bill to want to go about things in his classic, strong middle class, utilitarian, serious football guy approach. But every now and again, you have to get people that are really good at something special that the rest of the team isn't good at. I can see why they'd swing for the fences and try to get a Bethel Johnson +1 in Tyquan Thornton in hopes that he's going to be a home run hitter. I know, and what a disaster that turned out.
Why'd you do that to him?
I know, I didn't mean to. I know. I see why they have been going for the guys they wanted, because last year Matt Gross said speed is going to be a serious factor and focus for us in the draft, and it was. But they have to get guys that make their offense more unpredictable and dynamic, because for years now, I've heard it from you, I've heard it from Phil Perry, people have said, I don't really worry about game planning for the Patriots because there's nobody who keeps us up at night. They need to get guys in other people's heads. It's not going to be a cornerback, most likely isn't going to be running back, though I think the running back room is pretty excellent right now. So that's why I'm looking for guys like Tank Dell. That's why I'm looking for guys like Darnell Wright to blast open the holes, to make the short game, the running game more explosive this season. That, to me, the splash, the flash, that's what I'm looking for in this draft and hopefully this coming season.
Yeah, just it sounds easy to just get better players. And that's the hard part about this. Like, I get better. The sizzle only lasts for so long of, that first round wide receiver. Again, N'Keal Harry is a perfect example. We got the receiver, first round pick. It was happened. extend Brady's, prime, blah, yada, yada. He comes out and plays and busts. Like, you need to get players who can function. Again, part of it's about value. It's a bigger conversation. I think they're just going to prioritize the offensive line and say, the way we had to play offense last year is just untenable. Can't do it because it limits so much of what you want to do, from how many step drops you're going to take in the passing game, the style of runs that you need to go, the directions of those runs, left versus right, and letting the tight ends even just out into route. So that, I think, is going to be the focus, the emphasis. You got to go. What are you playing? Six Rings Pod. We've heard it from Andy Hart. It's a great podcast. Yep. You guys are a phenomenal duo. What else we got going on? What can we look forward to from you?
The usual routine, nights on WEEI when the Red Sox aren't playing, on the Rich Keefe Show, weekends, Fitzy and Hart, the Six Rings podcast, found wherever awesome football talk like Pat's Interpod can be found as well. And then the usual stuff, coming to you again this fall on an expanded jumbotron at your favorite football stadium. All my in-stadium super fan shenanigans for the Patriots and more, and a couple other little fun things I'm working on the side, but just the usual super fandom. After all, man, I'm just a guy standing outside a stadium asking a team to love him, or at least be more fun to watch this season. Damn it.
Yeah. John Cusack, say anything, just like, please be more fun. Got that holding up the speakers. Yeah, excellent.
Yeah. Are you going to the draft, by the way? You're going to be in case?
No, not going to the draft. Yeah, it's funny. People keep asking that, and I've never been. It's about access, right? The press conference is everything with the players is over the phone when they pick, 20, 30 minutes after it happens, or Zoom. So no, we're not even going to the stadium, which used to be, pre-pandemic. Standard protocol. Yeah. Go all sit together in your office or your cubicle in the media workspace at the stadium, or in some places, the facility, if it's not the stadium, with other teams. But now we're all working from home because, hey, we're just staring at the same TV, maybe texting a few people to get a heads up about what the pick could be, what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But like, even the teams in the war rooms, as you see, are all watching the same show. So at this point, just stay home. I just said something else and now it's slipping my mind. Oh, are you going to Germany?
So I believe so.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So we got to get you on that board, I would say, especially if it is a home 100%. Game being surrendered. Yeah.
Oh no, if I don't get to go as one of the fan ambassadors for the Patriots, if I don't get to do my usual game day antics over there, which I'm hoping I'll get a chance to do, I'll even fly myself over there, because some of my friends in the brewing industry have said, oh, I'm going to go see the Pats game, but I'm going to go a week in advance and tour breweries that make the finest lagers, kolsches, and dunkels that you'll ever try in this life. And if there's one thing old Uncle Fitzy loves, it's a good fresh German dunkel. So if we don't get a chance to have any beers between now and the start of the season, then you and I will absolutely have to just crush it over in Germany, in Deutschland, my friend.
Definitely. Yeah. And
for a good Spieltag. And by the way, the Patriots fan club in Germany, awesome. Those guys are righteous. They know how to have a good Endstand.
If we do over in Germany, you got to bring Sebastian around. Like, I want to see how much a 6'9" human being can throw down, even though he shed like 100 and whatever amount of pounds.
He is ripped. What is up with guys like him and Joe Thomas becoming male fit models? My God.
Big glow up. Just imagine that lifestyle. You're not waking up and shoving 1,500 calories into your mouth right away.
You're not waking up to eat like Hugh Jackman trying to become Wolverine. Like, you actually... Like, you start the day with like a mushroom coffee, then you go on like a 50-mile bicycle ride and just like do all these things that Iron Men like them do.
I know. Even Cole Strange was talking about this year. It's just hard to put on weight, which no one else in the world wants to hear. But look, when you need to stay at like 320 pounds and that is your lifestyle and your job, mind you, when you lose 10 pounds virtually every practice, just sweating it out, not as fun as people think. But if it's beer weight, God bless. We can't wait. We'll throw him back. Maybe we'll ask our Belgian friend Corliss Waitman, who hopefully hasn't listened to the first part of this podcast. We throw him back to Chimay, some other Belgians while we're over there. We'll get some Rex.
It should be a blast.
All right. Pleasure as always, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan.
And a good reminder that, folks, this episode of the Pat's Interference Podcast is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.